What is your did it before it was cool thing? I read the Martian back when it was just a text file on some backwater website. I had a fidget spinner on my desk for about 6 months before they blew up. At that time they weren't being mass produced at all. You pretty much got them 3D printed or laser cut from acrylic. I thought they were neat and sent them to my dad and brothers for Christmas. I still have my first one on my desk. It's laser cut neon yellow acrylic. Saw Kendrick Lamar in a college gym for $5 in 2011 lol. Edit. Just found the flyer. It was $15. I have swindled you all. Gia Kaching. My friends and I were doing it with a Palm 3 with the GPS attachment back in 2000. Bought Bitcoin in late 2010. Was on a Malaysian private server for an old game I used to love called Risk Your Life, RILE. This server has a real money mall and of course I'm dumb enough to want to pay to win. So I go on their site and they don't take normal credit card or PayPal, but they offer some weird shit called Bitcoin. So I go through the steps to buy it, spent around $100 USD for around 1000 Bitcoin. Spent 600 of the Bitcoin on some rings / a sword, an amulet and an armor. And 400 sat on my wallet until I sold most of it in 2017 for an absolutely massive profit, still holding a few, and changed my entire life. I needed an invite code to make my Gmail account. When I was a young kid, my dad brought home a Fairchild gaming system, and I got addicted to playing video games like Pong and Breakout on my home television. This would have been 1976. I ordered Nirvana's Bleach on cassette before Nevermind came out. Saw in a magazine that they were supporting Sonic Youth, and A Dream Nation was my favorite album at the time, so that was enough of an endorsement for me. I was the coolest 14-year-old in New Zealand for, like, 2 months. Then Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, and I spent the rest of my teenage years declaring that I liked them before they were cool. Nobody cared, and I still miss Kurt. Edit. I was also the first person in my hometown to know about Wu-Tang Clan. I had to order the cassette from the US. Probably had to dub 20 copies from it for all the other kids at school. Man, I wish I was still that hip. Vertical bar. Deleted my Facebook due to privacy concerns in 2004. I don't mean to brag, but I bought the Pope's chicken sandwich like a week or so before it exploded in popularity and people started killing themselves for it. Big Chungus was my profile pic for years before it became a meme. Netflix and Blockbuster mail in DVDs. Oh, and burning them on DVD. Fine Netflix, I'll try this new streaming service. Storage unit auctions. Before 2010, when the Storage Wars show first started, you could find auctions with a few bidders, mainly pawn shop guys, but find smaller ones on the cheap for furniture, especially during my cheap college years. Show up, place a bid for $20, get a couple end tables, bed, and chair. Thanks to that show, everyone thinks they'll hit the jackpot, as if people who default on their units all leave behind 1940s memorabilia or something. Bids skyrocketed beyond comprehension on or around 2011. It just hasn't been worth it since then. Most the stuff is junk. People, the TV shows, are fixed and edited. It's not worth it thinking something is always hidden. People with valuables many times put that in a safety deposit box, not a storage shed unit. I feel bad for the college kids who not only can't get decent apartment rent levels, but also can't get furniture on the cheap from storage sheds like I used to, simply because of the false expectations from a fixed TV show. Intermittent fasting. It's just poverty-based eating. I read the Infinity Gauntlet comics when they first came out and had Thanos and the Silver Surfer on my birthday cake back in 1993. Not really a cool thing, but back in the 80s I worked at a resort where we paid ridiculous amounts for things like toilet paper, paper towels, and other consumables to be delivered. The newly opened Sam's Club had way better prices, but we didn't have big enough vehicles or the time to go pick supplies up on a regular basis. So I just walked up to the manager and told him things like we spent $13,000 a year on toilet paper and other details, and how it would be nice if they delivered. He thought about it, crunched some numbers, and a few days later he called us and said they would do it. The manager later told us he got all kinds of kudos from his management for thinking out of the box, and that they were going to start offering this service in other locations. So yeah, I did that. I've been streaming movies since 1999. Bitcoin mining in 2014, but sold it to buy a phone case. I used to record with a VCR when I played Mario Bros 2. When VCR recording came out I thought, hey, I could record whatever is on the TV, right? It worked. I was floored. I ended up watching the tape once and thought it was the coolest thing ever. This was on a huge furniture tube TV that sat on the floor and only had a few channels you selected with a dial. So, I pretty was a Twitch streamer before it was cool. The only minor difference was I did not make millions of copies and mail them out to the masses. Minor. I used to drink from jars 20 years ago. My friends thought it was so cool to casually sip red wine from something else than a wine glass, lol. My college roommate was from Seattle. He had been to a few Macklemore shows when he was in high school. I remember when Language of My World came out, my roommate was certain that Macklemore would go from being a semi-underground PNW rapper to a household name. Later on, we had tickets to see him at a small show in Vermont. We bought the tickets a few weeks before The Heist came out. I think we bought the tickets for $15 each. We bought 3 tickets and our other friend couldn't come. We ended up selling that ticket for a few $100. It paid for our gas and drinks for that weekend trip. Played Minecraft in alpha by a hair. So I have that going for me, which is nice. Saw Nine Inch Nails in a tiny club. I was on the internet in the mid-80s. I was the only kid in high school that printed book reports, and probably one of the few that even knew what a modem was. Edit: yes, the internet existed before the www. No, the www is not the internet. Yes, there were also BSEs. I ran one. No, I'm not confused. My mother was a librarian at a state college, so I used her access privileges. Since I was only 13 at the time, I first dialed into it with a Popcom 1200 bps modem on an IBM XT running an 8088 processor. Saw Axe/DC in concert before they were cool, at least before they were cool in Fresno. There was a lot of serious heckling and booing, cups and stuff thrown onto the stage. Bon Scott dropped his trousers and bared his ass to the crowd, then walked off the stage. If I recall correctly, there was nothing wrong with the performance, but the people were there to see Aerosmith and just didn't want to wait. Rollerblading. Ahem. Bear with me. I bought a pair in the US circa 1989, when the only people using them were ice hockey players doing summer training, and they were completely unheard of in Europe. Brought them back to the UK, and for a while, I was the most cutting-edge skater in town. By the time they became popular, and dare I say, cool, I'd already ditched them and moved on. And no, the hardest thing about it was not telling my dad I'm gay. I remained safely in the closet. I used to monitor Up Plus Rap Store religiously on my iPod Touch. Every Thursday afternoon they would update it with a fresh set of curated up-and-coming games. I got Temple Run the first day they showcased it, but deleted it after 10 minutes because I thought the graphics were weird. 2 weeks later everyone at my school was playing it. Competitive gaming. You used to be an absolute loser if you were into it. Now those same kids are basically celebrities. Read Game of Thrones in 1998. I had to wait for a book ****. You kids have no idea. Played Dota. I was one of the beta testers for the original Defense of the Ancients custom map on Warcraft 3 back in 0203. Sadly, the creator, a guy named Duel, chose not to port the map to the Frozen Throne expansion when it came out. for reasons I still don't understand. Another guy named Ginsu stole the map and ported it over instead as Dr. Ulsters. Today, Ginsu, not Yule, is remembered as the creator of Dota, which is a bit frustrating for us original folks. Listen to podcasts before they were podcasts. Recorded shows, just like today, some were for online distribution, others were recorded versions of broadcasts, were put on a web server or FTP server, where you could come download them. They weren't quite podcasts yet, because the idea of hooking them up with an RSS feed hadn't come out yet, not even sure if RSS had been invented yet, TBH. So I had a script that ran as a cron job on my desktop, which would grab a directory listing at regular intervals and download anything I didn't already have. Most of them were MP3, of course, but at least one was real audio. Everything nerdy. I attended high school in the 90s, and you kept the nerdy shit hidden. Then came the Star Wars special editions. Then LOTR won a bunch of Oscars. Nerd stuff became more and more mainstream. Then the cool kids started watching Game of Thrones. Now Dungeons and Dragons is having its biggest growth ever. So grateful. I love how it's no longer niche targeted at young males. Now, the neckbeards who get triggered over fake geek girls, I don't understand them. I'm old enough to remember when a girl who had the same interests as you was a good thing and the basis for a relationship. I was uncool before being uncool was cool. Shopped at Amazon. I've been doing it since it just sold books.